Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to appreciate the participation by all of you. You are extremely very busy people, and you took time out of your busy schedules and to share your opinions and your expectations and your views about the travel industry, which is very, very important, not only for this session, for the whole market and to all of our audience. This session today is related to Gulf Travel Show that will be on the 31st March and the 1st of April. And this is hosted and conducted by the Trav Talk, one of the most famous and active and aggressive travel magazine, which has been updating and connecting the market, not only during the COVID, but especially during the COVID till now. So let me please introduce myself. My name is Nasser Jamal Khan. I am the CEO of Al Nabuda Travel and Tourism, which is one of the largest travel companies within UAE. So I have been with the Al Nabuda Travel and Tourism for the last 16 years. I have a list of achievements that I could manage to achieve with my team and the support of the owners of the company. Besides that, I have been in Saudi Arabia. I started my actual career in Saudi Arabia. I was in Saudi Arabia for 22 years. I worked with one of the largest companies called Saudi Tourist and Travel Bureau. I worked with Gulf Air as an area manager for 12 years. And I started my career with American Express. That was my school, and that's where I was trained. So it's more about the panelists who are joining. So with us today, we have Mr. Matthias Albrecht, and as a director of Switzerland Tourism in the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, which is called GCC. He's responsible for promoting Switzerland as a holiday and meeting destination in Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Before relocating to Dubai, he was based in Frankfurt as the district manager for Switzerland Tourism in Germany. The travel business has always been his passion. While studying business administration at the University of Applied Science, Winterthur, he started his own travel agency called Abflug. I hope I pronounce it right. After selling Abflug, Matthias continued his career in the sales departments of United Airlines and South African Airways, and as managing director of Malaysian Airlines, Switzerland, before joining Switzerland Tourism in 2010. He enjoys spending time with his wife, their 2 daughters, and friends. His favorite interests and hobbies include innovation, emerging markets, sports, politics, and of course, naturally, traveling. He's married and father of 2 daughters, 10 and 12 years old. We also have with us today Mr. Sai Ratan. Mr. Sai Ratan is currently the managing director of one of the largest travel companies based in UAE called Sharjah National Travel and Tourism Agencies Group. With close to 25 years of experience in the travel industry, having worked in India and UAE with companies like BTI, Carlson Wagonlit Travel, and MMI, which is part of the Emirates Group. He has worked in sales and general management, having been exposed to all facets of travel industry. I think Mr. Sai has shared a very brief introduction about himself. He plays a very, very important role in the UAE travel industry, and he's a very senior travel leader in the UAE market, and I'm sure we will benefit from his opinions and his ideas about the travel at the moment. We also have with us Mr. Tyler. Mr. Tyler Gonzalez is a global marketing and business leader with strong experience in the global travel space, where he's run programs that meet traveler needs and produce results in mature and emerging source markets for leading DMOs, including Visit California and San Francisco Travel. He's currently leading global trade distribution and international marketing for the Royal Commission for Al Ula, where he collaborates with an outstanding team of cross-functional experts to bring the destination to the market. I'm sure we will enjoy listening to Tyler as well, because Saudi Arabia has transformed from an outbound, a country with a mostly outbound travel into, or transforming into the inbound tourism destination. So gentlemen, once again, thank you very much. I hope I have made the correct introduction for each one of you. And let's start our question and answer sessions. And before that, I would like to also add here, as we all know, Dubai is one of the top countries in the world and the top country within GCC to achieve 70% of vaccination for UAE population, including nationals and expats. This is a fantastic achievement. The UAE government and Airports Authority have taken fantastic precautionary measures at all the airports and all over UAE, including all the touristic points within UAE. So domestic travel has been increased by many folds due to pandemic. And the international tourists are now, I think we are open since July 2020, and the international tourists are traveling to UAE from around the world. And UAE is open for tourism, of course, with all the protocols and the care and the precautions in place. We would like to hear now from our panelists, because they are representing different countries here. So if I may start with Tyler, because I would see that Saudi Arabia is an amazing change, going through the amazing changes. So Tyler, may I please ask you, and before I ask you, let me say that we all know that there are tremendous changes and tremendous projects coming up in Saudi Arabia. This is amazing. Saudi Arabia is going through an amazing transformation. We are all excited about it. There are many new opportunities with regards to business and some amazing opportunities for tourism in Saudi Arabia. As I said, Saudi Arabia was mainly known for an outbound market, a very large market, a huge market. It was for inbound, it was mostly the religious travel, which is Umrah, Hajj and Umrah. And now the country is open for inbound tourism. So one of the prominent developments introduced to the world is Al Ula. So Al Ula is the unseen wonder of the world and Saudi Arabia's first UNESCO World Heritage Site. So Tyler, if I may ask to start with, what is the meaning of Al Ula?
Well, thank you very much for including me on this panel. I'm very excited to participate and to share thoughts on, as you so eloquently put, the transformation of Saudi Arabia into a world-class inbound tourism destination. So starting with, what does Al Ula mean? Al Ula means literally the high place. And this is related to the agricultural history, as we have 7,000 years of human history and heritage and civilization heritage here in Al Ula, where an agrarian society has been working in an oasis and building towns, and it's been a real journey through time with multiple civilizations that have inhabited the area. And as different farmlands have dried up, or their oases or water tables have dried up, they continue to migrate throughout northwestern Arabia. And Alula is the highest place in the northwestern Arabian region where multiple tribes had migrated, and they colloquially named it Alula, the high place.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So could you tell us what is in store for the development of Alula with hotels?
There is an extraordinary amount of investment that's taking place not only in Saudi Arabia, but here in Alula itself. We have a wide array of amazing heritage sites that can be visited, including, as you mentioned, Hegra, which is the first UNESCO World Heritage Site dubbed in Saudi Arabia. There are 5 total throughout the kingdom. And there are other significant heritage sites that exist here in the destination. And we also have expanded products that really highlight our amazing, awe-inspiring landscapes from our oasis that include stargazing to adventure products like zip lining and cycling to horse trails, the Arabian horse trails, which is really an amazing opportunity to see the beautiful nature that surrounds the destination. And with that, we need to accommodate people to explore our heritage, our history, our nature, our arts and culture with our amazing performance and concert venue, Moriah, which has been host and the seat of our Winter Tantora Events Festival for many years. And as we've transformed into a year-round destination, we will be bringing online several new hotels, starting with a banyan tree in the fall. And that's a well-known brand that we all should be familiar with in the Accor group, primarily prominent in Asia. So we're really excited to have that project open with 77 keys, as well as a hotel group called Habitas, opening with 100 keys in the fall. And Habitas is a millennial-focused brand that has their first property in Tulum. They've also just opened their second in Namibia, and they will be opening their 3rd location here in Alula in the fall. And then towards the end of 2022 and heading into 2023, we will be opening 3 Amman resorts. And these will have world-class spas and will adhere to the true 5-star quality and experience that Amman is known for throughout the world. And we will also be tapping into the hyper luxury segment with a 40-key Jean Nouvel resort. And there's been a lot of press surrounding that project as of late. And those are a few of the amazing products that are coming online, as well as a 4 Seasons in the pipeline and a few other amazing projects. So we're going to start really developing the luxury segment, and we're going to continue to develop that into mid-market opportunities where the vision is heading into 2035 to have approximately 10,000 keys in the destination. And we shortly will be unveiling our master plan, which will highlight how the destination will continue to evolve and take shape over the next 10 years.
Excellent. This is like a music to our ears to hear what developments are taking place in Saudi Arabia. It's amazing. Go back about 5 to 6 years back into history, and we will not expect this happening in Saudi Arabia. This is fantastic, and I'm sure Saudi Arabia will definitely gain a lot of business and a lot of tourists from around the world. So now that Alula is a year-round destination, what plans do you have for Ramadan, for the summer?
That's a great question. And I think that this is something that we've worked very closely with our partners at Saudi Tourism Authority, as well as our local suppliers. And as we're seeing, domestic travel throughout the kingdom is new. And I think that it's really been, even though COVID restrictions have been challenging for the travel industry around the globe, it's been a unique opportunity that has allowed us to really tap into the local market where many Saudis had never explored what's in their own backyard before. Yes. And part of this is our commitment to make sure that we are open as a year-round destination with offerings that will be late at night from our core heritage sites. We have 4 primary heritage sites, and there will be restaurants that will be open later in the evenings and activities that will be extended until 2 a.m. during Ramadan. And also, we have a lot of demand for relatively limited currently amount of hotel availability with all the experiences that we currently have. So we see Ramadan and then heading into the summer as a major opportunity for the best prices of the year and increased availability. And after Ramadan, we will be ramping up with additional experiences. Our operations won't be as limited, but again, there will be experiences across the heritage sites. There will be early morning and late evening activities focused on some adventure, light adventure, from hiking to stargazing. And we will be sure, because we know it will be warm during the summer, but we will make sure that we schedule our activities around the early mornings and the late evenings to accommodate that, as well as unique rest periods and opportunities for wellness throughout the day. So we are keeping this in mind, and we do know that, as Dubai has been mentioned in your introduction as well, we see that it is incredibly warm and humid in the GCC region. And we want to be sure that we're creating experiences that are appropriate for the weather, but also that we're seizing that opportunity as we see many visitors from around the world visiting Egypt and Petra, Jordan, which is our Hegra, our UNESCO World Heritage Site, was built by the same civilization that developed Petra, Jordan. So we see it as an opportunity, and also certainly from a hotel availability and a pricing standpoint, it's a great opportunity for particularly agents to build strong relationships with our hotels who are overwhelmed with a lot of demand during the high season. And so it's a great opportunity really to build a relationship, create some unique packages, and really promote us as a year-round destination and the gem and jewel of the kingdom currently.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tyler. We do have a couple of more questions for you. But before that, if I may ask Matthias about Switzerland. So we all know Switzerland is one of the most wanted and the sweetest. This is my own personal experience. I call it that, most romantic, most attractive, most beautiful for me. And I'm sure it's for everybody. Having said that, Basel, Bern, Zurich, having ranked amongst the 20 safest cities in the world, we understand that Switzerland is one of the most beautiful, careful, and very well organized destinations. So I would like to ask you, Matthias, what are the measures taken by Swiss government which are highly considerable for the tourists to be confident to visit Switzerland? So what is the current status?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I would also say thank you for including me in this panel. And I would also like to congratulate Dubai and the UAE for managing this crisis, and especially the vaccination program, so fast and dynamically. That's really impressive, and we can all learn from them. Even as Switzerland, we can learn. And I would also like to say I would love to visit Alula soon. I've been traveling extensively in Saudi Arabia as well. I mean, meeting our customers. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that visit to Alula. And I could also add maybe what is missing is the direct link between Riyadh and the German part of Switzerland, Zurich or Basel. And I think that's something we can both work on, Alula and Switzerland, to make this air link possible. Now coming back to your question, I think, yeah, I mean, Switzerland, of course, is still very safe, and there is many measures like we have here as well. I mean, there is, of course, the distancing and the masks is a requirement, and you need to go have a test when you want to go in. Unfortunately, and I have to say that it's really going on my nerves, to be honest, is the fact that still people from which have no Schengen nationality can't travel to Switzerland and to Schengen areas. Normally, the fact that we are in Schengen is normally very positive, because you can have one visa and you can travel around the whole Schengen area. But now it's a bit negative during the crisis, because we have to follow the Schengen rules, and the Schengen rules say that currently no one can travel which has no Schengen nationality unless there is a few exceptions like medical reasons or maybe an invitation in front of the court or so, but this is our exceptions, and we really hope that we can soon travel again and that we can demonstrate also again the beauty and the safety of our country.
Excellent. But having said that, are there any special COVID restrictions, protocols, guidelines to follow other than negative COVID test, PCR, for example, social distancing, wearing masks, vaccine, mandatory requirements for travel? Anything else? I mean, how about the travel insurance, for example? Is this travel?
No, of course, the travel insurance is needed, but it's needed for to get a European visa anyway. So I mean that's there, and I think no, I think the measures are pretty much the same as we have here as well. And what is good actually is that the hotels are open, the restaurants in the hotels are open for the guests. Other restaurants are not open, but the hotel and the hotel restaurants are open. And what is also open is all the outside activities. So it's possible to enjoy Switzerland, and especially the open space and the areas outside, the beautiful landscape and in the environment. So that's possible, but still, I mean, we need to have open borders, and that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So going back to the insurance, yes, you are absolutely right. This is for traveling and for the visa purposes, you must have a travel insurance. But I think for our listeners today, this insurance policy that the traveler or the passenger must carry, should it include, or it must include the COVID treatment?
Yeah, of course, it would be very helpful, and
mandatory, right?
It's to my knowledge, yes, it's mandatory. Yeah, it would be good. I think these are Schengen visa rules, and I think this is valid for whole Europe. Yeah.
Perfect. Switzerland everywhere is all the destinations are beautiful and attractive. There's no doubt about it. I say this because this is one of my favorite countries, and it's for everybody again. And as soon as the borders open, as you said, you want to go to Saudi Arabia, to Al Ula, trust me, maybe I'll go with you, because I'm really looking forward to go and see what is happening in Saudi Arabia, which is so wonderful. So having said that, the moment I could make it to Switzerland, this will be my first destination. So having said that, do we pinpoint, are there any particular or safest touristic points or destinations within Switzerland that we should consider, or it is everywhere the same? It's all safe.
I think it's all safe. Yeah, it's everywhere the same. No, I think we have created a label, and which is a clean and safe label, and there is places which are really following all the regulations very seriously, and they all have this label, and they can showcase that they're really following what is needed, and don't cheat, and don't do unsafe things. And I think that's a bit the guideline for us to really follow that. And but in general, Switzerland is not a mass destination. We don't have mass tourism. We are not overcrowded, and I think that's the fact which makes Switzerland very safe and a good place to travel to. We will never be very crowded, and you have space for yourself. You can breathe. You're not in narrow circumstances, and that's a good reason to travel to Switzerland as well.
Excellent. Right, great. We understand there have been certain flights between UAE and Switzerland in the recent past, and we can see some regular flight schedules or scheduled flights, especially Emirates Airlines, starting from around 27th of March. So please tell us if the borders are being opened from this part of the world, from GCC, and people can start visiting Switzerland for tourism from here.
Actually, Emirates is flying since last summer, and Swiss as well. So there is plenty of connectivity. Also Qatar, for example, they're flying as well almost daily. So there is connectivity. But as I mentioned before, unfortunately, we at the moment can mainly transport people who have European nationality, and this is really, as I said before, going on my nerves. I want everyone to be able to travel, and I really hope this will change. When exactly the Schengen Commission will change it, I don't know. I hope it will be the case somewhere in June, July, when the vaccination programs in Europe have also shown a certain progress. I mean, we are already here, but unfortunately, the vaccination programs in Europe are not on the same level yet. And I really hope this will be there will be progress in the next few weeks and months to make traveling possible again.
Yeah, sure, we hope so, because there are things that we can control as hoteliers, airliners, the travel agents and tour operators, but there are things that we have to wait for. For example, the decision of for the Schengen visas to be open, other nationalities to be allowed to travel, and of course, the borders to be open for the rest of the world. So we just would like to definitely wait, and I think we have a lot of passengers ready to fly to everywhere, and especially to Switzerland as well. Matthias, thank you very much for sharing the insight information. I have, again, a couple of more questions for you. But before that, I would like to just go to Mr. Sai and see what Mr. Sai has to tell us about what's going on in UAE market, because he's based here and representing one of the largest companies here. Mr. Sai, it's a question that has been asked several times, and we ask this question, we hear the answers, but another industry leader here with us, which is you today, would like to hear from your point of view as of today. So how did COVID impact the travel industry in 2020, and what is the current status now?
I think it's you rightly mentioned, it's one of the questions that has been on the top of everybody's mind. And before I start, I would like to say a very warm good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for having invited me. Well, the year 2020, we've heard phrases like pandemic, unprecedented, unimaginable, and so many other things. But the fact is that the year 2020 actually challenged the entire industry for its very survival. And that is a fact. If you look at the figures released by IATA, the airline revenues fell by close to $500 billion US dollars as compared to 2019. The international travel demand fell by 75%. The load factors were down to about 62% as compared to 80+%, close to 85% in 2019. So all these figures point out to the fact that the industry itself had to go through the toughest year possibly in its history. Within UAE itself, if I may say, the airports were locked down on the 26th of March, I think, last year, 2020. There was some partial opening on 23rd of June with certain restrictions and with some air bubble agreements, etc., in place. But looking back to last year, April, May, when airlines and agencies were giving more refunds than there was sales happening, we've come a long way. As you mentioned about the current state of the industry, yes, we saw towards end of last year, there was a bit of an uptake, which was quickly reversed once we had the new strain of the virus and government started shutting borders, etc. Europe is still shut for general tourism, as Matthias told us. But we're seeing that with the pace of vaccination, taking precedence, and a lot of the governments are putting a lot of efforts into vaccinating. There is definitely an uptake in travel. New destinations are opening up. Governments have also started relaxing certain rules and regulations. The other day, we had the gateway city of India, Mumbai, saying that if you have taken 2 doses of vaccine, you don't need to quarantine. These are all good measures, which is definitely pointing towards facilitating travel in the coming months.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sai. We all know that despite the challenge of COVID-19, like everywhere else in the world, Dubai or UAE put together, we never stopped the business. Of course, as you correctly says, the business was challenged, it was reduced, the flights were reduced, cancelled, borders were closed, but then again, somehow or the other, the business continued to a certain level, whether it is charter flights, repatriation flights, bubble flights, excuse me. The domestic tourism, as I said earlier, it was increased by many folds. So in other words, despite all these challenges, UAE and especially Dubai never slept. Business continued. And the inbound opened in July 2020, as we said. So what are the top countries from the world contributing to the inbound tourism in Dubai at the moment?
So I completely agree with you in terms of the fact that UAE and Dubai in particular has been the shining star, has been a role model, an example for other countries to follow, like in many other fields, in terms of also travel and tourism. And they literally never shut down. But one good thing they did was, they had a lot of safety measures, a lot of COVID protocols to give the confidence to the traveler, whether you are passing through Dubai or you're visiting UAE, coming into Dubai, that we are open for travel, and within the restrictions and having all the protocols and managing the whole COVID situation in a very exemplary manner. And I think a lot of countries would have taken note of this. Personally, people that I've met who've visited Dubai as VFR traffic or as tourists, everybody, without any exception, has said that Dubai has done a fantastic job. UAE has done a fantastic job. There couldn't be a better place than the UAE to be in these times. And this is very unbiased and very neutral kind of feedback that we've had, and which really gives us a lot of confidence, hope, and positivity. Currently, if you look at it, India has been one of the largest source markets. Western Europe, UK is one of the largest source markets. Russia, we've had Egypt in January 2021, as per the statistics from DTCM. Egypt was also part of the top 5 markets. KSA, when there has been travel and borders have not been closed, has also been in part of the top 5 source markets. And the fact is that there are more people wanting to travel to the UAE, to Dubai, but they are challenged by the restrictions put in by their own governments.
I understand. Yes, thank you very much. In UAE, the way the authorities took care and managed the situation with regards to pandemic, we all, I'm talking about myself, I'm sure we all felt very safe being in UAE. We never felt like we are in a danger zone, to be frank. Having said that, there were a lot of protocols and precautions in place even when we were open during July 2020. Do you feel that there are any changes in terms of the procedures on arrival at UAE, especially Dubai airport, or is there any relaxation, or it is still the same?
One of the things that we've seen due to this pandemic is that situation is changing very fast, and UAE is no exception, whereby if they find that the risk is high from a particular country, people traveling from a particular destinations coming into UAE, they are very quick to adapt to it, put certain measures in place. By and large, as I said, UAE is completely open for travel, except if you have been to South Africa and Nigeria in the last 14 days, Even there are few exceptions. Of course, there is no restrictions for the UAE citizens to travel into UAE or Dubai, and also for the diplomatic passengers, there are no restrictions. Having said that, UAE definitely requires you to take a PCR negative test. Certificate should be there with you when you travel, and this should be within 72 hours of travel. This is more or less a very standard requirement now across the globe. Having said that, the UAE citizens are exempted from it, but they will have to take a test on arrival in Dubai. Children below the age of 12 and certain passengers with disabilities, etc., are also exempted. So all in all, they have facilitated travel in a very comfortable and very practical way. And even when you arrive, the whole testing process is very easy. You need to download the COVID-19 Dubai Smart app, which is available on the Android and iOS platforms, etc., iOS platform. Of course, you need to carry the certificate, which should be, of course, they have even released the list of laboratories across the globe where you need to get your tests done. So they have provided all the information very seamlessly and ensured that travel is facilitated without any hassles.
Perfect. Thanks for the update. Now we talk about the outbound travel from UAE. So what are the top countries at the moment where people are traveling, where the borders are open? And what do you think about the travel from UAE, tourists traveling from UAE to Saudi Arabia? You hear what Tyler has been telling us, and I'm sure there are many more other attractions coming up in Saudi Arabia. So do you feel there will be a good amount of movement from tourists from UAE to Saudi Arabia?
Absolutely. Currently, if we speak about the destinations, Maldives has been, I would say, one of the top destinations that people have traveled to. Again, the fact is that there are people who want to travel, who want to, visit places, and wherever there are possibilities that travel is being facilitated, we have seen that people are traveling from the UAE. Seychelles has been another of the destinations which attracted a lot of visitors from the UAE. Zanzibar, there are other places like Georgia is open now. So wherever, what we've seen is that there is a lot of appetite and people are waiting for borders to open, for travel to be facilitated. And I'm sure we would see, as and when that happens, countries like Switzerland, mainland Europe, get its traditional share of the business from the UAE. But most interestingly, Saudi Arabia and the initiatives taken by the government of Saudi Arabia in terms of developing tourism is something that is exciting everybody, be it the expatriate in the UAE or the locals. I think everybody has already put Saudi Arabia on their bucket list, and they are definitely waiting for things to open up. You offered to travel with Matthias, just count me in as well. I would like to be on that plane with you guys, and I'm sure it would be a very memorable trip as and when that happens. But seriously, the fact is that whether it is due to COVID or not, but the amount of fast track development that is happening in Saudi Arabia with regards to tourism is something that we are all very excited about in the industry. There are connectivities, there are facilities which will be open, I'm sure, once the borders open, once the time is right, and we are all looking forward to that. So we would have, I think, a lot of travel from within the region, especially from UAE into Saudi Arabia.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I go back to Tyler. Tyler, I would like to ask you, what shall be, talking about Al-Ula, what shall be the minimum or maximum duration of stay that will satisfy the tourists and to to enjoy all the attractions within Al Ula?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that we certainly would welcome or are excited to welcome all of you guys to Al Ula as soon as international borders open for travel. And this is something where, just to touch upon this as well, I think that Saudi Arabia has done an extraordinary job in managing the COVID situation, where there are many destinations that are open. And this is something where I'm currently wearing a mask. I'm in an office setting, and there are a lot of really strict protocols, but also when you're outdoors and experiencing the destination, it's as was mentioned in Switzerland, just having that opportunity to have outdoor experiences is certainly COVID safe as we move into a vaccine travel environment. So very excited about that opportunity. But as far as Al Ula length of stay, looking at a minimum of 3 nights, and it depends on where you're coming from as well. I think for domestic travelers and UAE visitors, I think we are looking, and you can potentially, we do have some 2-day itineraries, but from our heritage sites, as I mentioned, we have 4 heritage sites, which takes up almost a full day. And then stargazing activities, other nature products we have, from horseback riding to our zip line, to nighttime experiences. And we've actually just launched a number of new restaurants, including Annabelle's, which is famous for being a private club in London. So there are a number of really unique, special things that are popping up around the destination. And as we head into our event season, which runs October through until early April, there are world-class performers. And so we see repeat business taking place, particularly domestically and within the region. So there will be continuous development on the product side, as well as events calendar that will be attractive to the regional market. And we are working to extend air service internationally. We have recently had our airport turned into an international airport, and so we can accept international charters. And we see it as a great opportunity to work with regional carriers to bring international flights, starting with Dubai, certainly, and bringing those visitors directly into Al Ula, which could be done over a 2 to 3 day period. But we are also working with DMCs that are putting together 7 to 12 day itineraries. And Al Ula is a hub, I think, particularly looking at where we're situated in northwestern Arabia. We're about a 2.5 hour drive from the coast, the Red Sea. So the Red Sea development is another giga project that's being developed, but there is some infrastructure and diving and snorkeling that can be done about a 2.5 hour drive from Al Ula. There also is Medina, which is about a 3 hour drive south of Al Ula. So I think particularly for the GCC and Muslim market, we are well situated for Umrah Plus, coming up from Mecca, either just directly from a flight or by drive. So it depends on where you're coming from, but certainly it's a minimum of 2 to 3 nights, and we can look to extend that stay, especially coming from Europe or even longer haul from China or the USA. And particularly as we bring on our luxury hotel products, I think that the visitors are going to expect to have a spa experience, to really enjoy the hotel property as well as the heritage sites and the surroundings, and taking day trips around northwestern Arabia. So we're excited about having those trips created and working with our DMC network and the wider network throughout KSA to put together those itineraries.
Thank you very much, Tyler. So I believe that Al Ula and other attractions in Saudi Arabia, they are definitely in touch with the travel trade in the other countries to attract the tourism through the travel industry. So how can the travel trade engage with Al Ula? How can they engage with Al Ula? And what sort of travel trade partners are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts, we do have representative agencies globally. So we have 10 agencies representing us across 11 global markets. And we have a representative agency actually based in Dubai that is overseeing our domestic KSA efforts as well as across the GCC. So we start by putting
the global travel trade in touch with our representative offices. But I think that there are opportunities through the offices and our network to provide fam trips, to start making direct supplier connections to our hotels and some of our adventure products and DMCs to build out those itineraries. And that's going to be the best opportunity to really get things going, as I think from a DMC perspective, particularly for longer haul markets, but even UAE, it's working with the DMC because Saudi Arabia is a new tourism destination. Inbound is still a really new concept. And so we are recommending that the travel trade, if they're sitting offshore, if they don't have operations in KSA, to work with a DMC partner who is an expert at transportation and logistics throughout the kingdom, which is developing. But I think getting from point to point is better achieved with a travel partner and a DMC who has those relationships, understands the itineraries, and can really make that a seamless experience. And that's something that we're really promoting. And I think that that's something that's different than in other areas of the world. Frankly, we have an amazing bevy of talent in Saudi Arabia from all over the world that have worked for major attractions, tourism boards, and it's everyone is really working to develop the nation. But I think that we do need to understand it's not like a traditional destination where we can have a tour operator sitting in Berlin who can just make a couple of phone calls, maybe come to Saudi Arabia one time, make some supplier connections, and then go back to Berlin and expect everything to run smoothly. And so I think that it is highly important either to have on the ground operations within the kingdom or to work with DMC partners. And I think that in the short term, that may mean either higher premiums for end customers or lower margins for the intermediaries in the travel trade as we like to develop the market. But I highly recommend it because it's so important to make sure that the experience is a good one in point-to-point transit throughout the kingdom. And it is, again, it's a developing infrastructure, tourism infrastructure here in the kingdom, from flights, charters, to dining options. So in Alula, we've done a really great job of creating our ecosystem, but also we understand that currently without direct international flights outside of charters, that there are going to be other stops throughout the kingdom, whether it's Jeddah, whether it's Riyadh. And so I think that's a really important thing to remember. But we're happy to be an advisor throughout the kingdom. And we also look forward to welcoming direct flights in, and particularly charters. And with our low supply now and our hyper luxury coming on, we certainly are targeting premium segments and luxury segments, but we do have mid-market opportunities as well.
Thank you very much for your very, very important input about Saudi Arabia. And we are travel agents. We are also inbound and outbound tour operators, whether it's myself or Sai, and there are plenty of others. Please do let us know how can we support you in terms of promoting. Please stay in touch with us. So thank you once again for your information. I will have a common question for all of you in a couple of minutes. But before that, if I may ask Matthias once again, I think you mentioned it, but I just want to reconfirm. Have the visas opened, and can people apply for visas at the moment, or we are still waiting for the borders to open?
No, basically they can apply, but it's not possible to travel. I mean, if someone can travel because he has an emergency, a medical emergency, for example, he needs a visa and he can apply for the visa. And but he needs the laissez-passer, the possibility to travel, and beside of the visa, and this is just in almost all of the cases not possible so far.
Okay, we understand that. So as we said earlier, then we need to wait for some time till the things open for everybody. We recently met a number of hoteliers who visited the UAE from Switzerland, and they met a number of travel and tourism companies. This was a very good sign. I'm a strong supporter for such activities because this keeps the two markets well connected, and especially during these days. It's not easy for people to visit. Everything is online and webinars are taking place. But the first opportunity these people got, and I want to thank you and your team as well, The Swiss tourism based in UAE have been very, very active and remained connected with the market. So well done. I was pleased to see some of the faces that from the hotel industry from Switzerland, whom some of them I know them, some were new faces, but it was a very positive move from, I think, from Switzerland as a country, as a hotel industry. I would suggest that we would like to see more of the DMCs as well from Switzerland. We need to keep the pace. We need to keep the connection. We need to keep the confidence. And this is good time to engage in such activities. I would also recommend, this has been, you guys have been very active. You do a lot of fam trips. And I think Tyler also mentioned that, and I would strongly recommend to Tyler to arrange a number of fam trips, which is a great help when you're promoting any tourism to any country. So Switzerland has been an example for all of us. Anything you like to add in addition to what I said?
Just quickly, if I may just butt in, Nasser.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what has just been said by Nasser. And the fact is that, you know, even though there is no possibility to travel immediately, the initiatives taken by the hoteliers, by the tourism boards like yourselves, is really very important, because this gives us the confidence, and this gives us the fact that these partnerships are important. The support that has been there is really gives us a lot of trust and confidence to work in future as and when things open up. So sorry for just interrupting, but I completely support what has been said.
Thank you very much. It's a good input. Thank you for sharing your views as well. So Matthias, any additional points would you like to add to what has just been mentioned?
No, I think I totally agree. I think it's extremely important that we meet not only virtually, but also in physical terms. And yeah, we had numerous sales calls and numerous events in the last months as well, because we really believe in this market. We want to invest in this market. We want to maintain the relationships. And we have just in 1 week's time, we have another round of Swiss partners which come here physically and visit many tour operators, agencies here. And I think, yeah, it's extremely important to stay connected and just enable to start as soon as traveling is possible again. I was recently listening to a webinar of Oxford Economics and YouGov. They made a webinar about a survey they made in February, and there they asked the people from the UAE where they would travel to, and Switzerland was clearly the first destination in Europe mentioned there, in Saudi and in the UAE. And I think it's a sign for us as well to really be extremely ready when traveling is possible again, because people want to travel again and people want to come to Switzerland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The last questions that I have is, it's a general question for all of you, a magical question, if I may say. What do we predict? When will the travel and tourism return to normal post-COVID-19? It's a million-dollar question, magical question, but what are the predictions you think? If I may start with Sai, would you like to say anything on this?
I agree, it's a million-dollar question, and I'm also waiting to meet the person who has the answer to this question. But having said that, there are airlines. There is IATA, which is predicting that 2024 would be the time when the 2019 figures or travel will be back to the 2019 levels. Having said that, I think what we can see and what we can say currently is that, and what has been echoed by the fellow panelists, is the fact that people are eager to travel. People want to travel. There is a pent-up demand. And that is what we should be happy about. There is a lot of initiatives being taken by different agencies like IATA in terms of their travel pass, which will facilitate travel. in a very seamless and secure manner. IATA conducted a survey on behalf of IATA, a company called Rockland, and 88% of the travelers or the respondents were ready to travel with testing being part of the process. And then wherever we see, whether it is leisure, whether it is VFR traffic, whether it is business travel, there are people who definitely want to travel. And I think what we can see is that with the vaccination drive picking up, UAE again being at the front runner on that part as well, I think the governments are going to have some relaxations in place whereby people who've been vaccinated would not have to go through challenges like quarantine, etc. And that will help in terms of travel. So I feel that second half of this year would definitely be better than the first half, especially the last quarter. A lot of the people are predicting that would be the time when we would see a more substantial uptake in travel. But 2022 definitely would be a year, I feel, where we could see a much better spike in travel. And then with each passing month, I think the collaboration between different entities, the willingness of governments to work together, especially to promote travel and tourism, we can see that that is gaining ground, and that's good news, which I think will help us all to say that we could see sustainable travel happening very soon.
Thank you very much, Sai. We all know that in the coming months, coming years, in the future, and for quite some times, the trend of travel trends will change. We won't be traveling in the same manner as we did before COVID. So a lot of things will be changed. Protocols will remain there. Precautions will remain there. There will be a lot of checklists for the safety and security of everybody, whether it's a passenger or traveling from A to B, immigration officers at the airport, airline staff, airline cabin crew. There'll be a lot of protocols and precautions will continue to take place for quite some time. So having said that, let's talk about, it's a general question to all of you, whoever would like to answer this, the vaccination passport. The vaccine passports are primarily taking shape as a free mobile app, where international travelers upload their proof of vaccination. At the same time, as you just mentioned, the IATA Travel Pass is a mobile application under development. So how do you see the importance of both vaccination passport and IATA Travel Pass for the future of travel, and how is it going to help? Sai, would you like to answer?
I'll jump in. I just have a perspective. I think just considering even the kingdom's approach to protocol, and I think that I think a vaccine passport could be something that's important, but I think that it also depends on the vaccination numbers within each country, right? So we had the admirable number that is being bandied about in the UAE of 70% of the population being vaccinated. I think that's going to be the key for travel to really open, because I think travelers, there's pent-up demand. Some travelers are willing to travel without the vaccine, and that's at their own risk. And there is COVID protocol to keep travelers safe. And the vaccine passport, I think, can be really important for specific destinations to remove barriers or protocol that would be required that may minimize the capacity at certain attractions, which is something that we're doing in our heritage sites now. So I think it plays an important factor in order for destinations to scale their operations. But I see the bigger factor being the percentage of local population vaccinated in order for countries to start welcoming visitors again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would just like to add to that, in terms of the current context and perspective, what is happening currently is the fact that the rules and regulations are changing very rapidly. governments, there's no uniformity in terms of the governments, the way they are, implementing the travel requirements, etc. Secondly, the process itself, whereby you carry a paper kind of a printout in terms of your negative report or certification, that itself is a big question mark in terms of being open to fraud, etc. Airlines, they are responsible for ensuring that people have valid documents, but they cannot verify the authenticity of it. Carrying physical documents, again, is something that probably is not in line with the requirements, whereby we are probably moving towards more contactless travel. And in terms of the overall current travel demand, maybe airports are handling 10, 15, 20% of the travelers, but because of these requirements, they are having to have that kind of infrastructure, physically verify these documents, and then facilitate travel. So given this scenario, I think the initiatives from IATA in terms of the travel pass, in terms of health passports, etc., is something that is the need of the hour. It's very, very important, and then that is something that will shape the face of future travel as well. What we do require is the international agencies and bodies like WHO, IATA, and some of the other related government bodies to come together and have a common sort of standard in terms of accepting and facilitating travel through these kind of apps. But definitely I think that is the future, and IATA is definitely taking the lead in those terms.
Perfect. Thank you very much once again. Well, this brings us to the end of our session. I'm sorry it took a little more than 50 minutes, I believe, but I couldn't stop it because you were all contributing a very, very important information to our listeners. You are all the industry, all of you are industry leaders, and your input has a lot of value for all the market, all the listeners, and even for the passengers, for the vendors, for everyone. So I would like to thank you once again. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Sai, and thank you, Matthias. And I would also like to thank the TravTalk team once again for being extremely active since many, many years. But I personally have experienced the amazing job that they have done throughout the pandemic. And this is what we all love about it, that they made sure that the travel industry is connected, and everybody is hungry for information, be it a hotelier, be it a passenger, or a travel agent, or the DMC, or whoever related to the travel industry. We are all hungry and thirsty for the information, and TravTalk managed to ensure that the whole industry is updated, and throughout the last year and this year, and I'm sure they will continue to do a good job. So a big thank you to all of you, and a big thank you to Mr. Sanjeet, to Devika, to Shihara, and all the rest of the team. I really appreciate that, and I wish very good luck to all of you. Very optimistic about Saudi Arabia, and of course the rest of the world. Very optimistic for Switzerland as well, the moment Switzerland opens, and the rest of the world. And definitely Dubai and UAE is already open, and we are expecting a large movement inbound and of course outbound as well. We are ready. I think all the DMCs, all the airports, all the authorities, hotels, we are ready to welcome any number of tourists from around the world. We have a new market, and we are expecting huge traffic from there, which is Tel Aviv, Israel. I'm sure our business will be booming here very, very soon. So once again, thank you very much, and I hope to see you again soon. And Tyler, we are coming to see you in Saudi Arabia. All right, all three of us, and I'm sure a lot of other guys are coming. We'll stay in touch. I wish everybody good luck. Thank you once again, and bye-bye.